subconsciously I was thinking like I'm different breed, like I'm not at this level, I'm not I don't have the genes, the genetics, I don't have the upbringing, I don't have the background, I don't have anything.
It's very difficult to accept just how weak you can be. If you can't see yourself and if you cannot accept these weaknesses in your body, you will never be able to find the solution to them in the first place.
I was just sitting in front of the computer for 10 years when I was young and like a child and a teenager.
You know, it's like 100% is different. 100% of my body, like I trained every single area, like from the beginning. Every joint revisited, all the possible articulations and movements.
The whole idea of the good form is relative and subjective. What is good form for us will be very different for a beginner.
Fourth or fifth dimension of training opens up. Suddenly, like, you can approach any area of your body and you can just get like fantastic stimulus.
Because the potential suddenly increased so dramatically and so rapidly, the world became like open for us.
It's better, you know, that you actually take away the kettlebell completely. Just take that away, and because I told him that, you know, your shoulder is not under control. It's just like fluctuating, like bloop.
It feels like
because suddenly, like, now you have the genetics.
Exactly. Now you have the genetics, and it feels like. But just 2 years ago, you were the opposite. So, Eero, what happened to your face?
Yeah, right. So, as you can maybe see, I think it's pretty striking visual in my forehead, in the brow. I had a bit of an accident in the sparring. It's what happens, but. I basically, long story short, I just got kicked with this question mark kick. I was very tired in the last round of the sparring and got caught right into the eye, and it cut like really deep. It wasn't like a big, you know, like shake in the head, but I really felt like in this eye. I was first like, did I hurt my eye or something? And then my partner was, of course, a bit worried, and he was like, you know, there's just blood pouring out from the brow because this area of the head, I mean, it just bleeds very easy, but it was also a relatively deep cut, so just needed to get the stitches there. The first time actually that this type of, you know, accident has happened to me in this during my martial arts training. So
and this is only one of the many injuries we have had recently. Like recently, Eero also had like problems in his ribs. Yeah, and also I also had problems in my ribs.
And that, I mean, it's still. I can't properly contract my upper abdominals. There was like a double liver shot, and I mean, I was just trying to tough it out when it came, and just got back up. I continued to the end of the round, and after the end of the round, it was just like came delayed reaction. You know, I was just like, I couldn't breathe, and you know, I just needed to sit down, and it was like crazy sore. I can't believe it. Like, you know, the guy said that he didn't even hit hard, but I don't know. It was pretty accurate shot then, you know, I must say so.
Yeah, but that's the game of martial arts. It's
true.
The art of destruction of the human body.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you need to accept that type of risk, and you know, we preach about the training and, you know, how important the health part of it is, because your regular training should never, you know, cause you harm. But I don't know. I fully accept the risk that come with the martial arts. I want to do it, you know, and I understand that it can hurt you, and you know, it can leave some scars. But I don't think it's that bad. You know, I guess they make you know, they say like scars make man more handsome or whatever. I don't know. It's all right.
Yeah, but that's part of the game, and being like especially like a higher level athlete in this game, like because the risks they get kind of higher the higher you get. So when you're at the like higher professional levels, it can get really risky. So
yeah, super risky. But it's of course it's not something to take it lightly, like, you know, the CTE and this kind of stuff. Like, I don't want any of that. And of course, if you really start to get like banged up to the head bad, you know, you gotta think if it's smart to continue. But so far, you know, for this I feel like it's still like very superficial. It's nothing like that's gonna affect my life really or something like this. It means that, you know, I gotta keep a break from sparring for a week or two. But yeah, there's multiple types of risks. But yeah, with this one, you know, as I you know, this is a very athletic sport, and it took actually even a long time to be in the shape to really be able to practice like full on, like hard, do the sparring and the martial arts, like practice it consistently. In the beginning, to really build up yourself to this type of athletic level, it's not like something that's so obvious. Because the way I see it, like if people look at any type of like high level, martial artists or high level athlete in any sport, the champions, Cristiano Ronaldo even, or some whatever you're watching, some tennis players or swimmers, Olympic athletes. When people observe these and are maybe fans, you're admiring. I think the very like vast majority of people look at these athletes and they would never even dare to like think that they could have any of these athletes, not even like close to the level of these athletes. Like this how I feel it is what comes to most people mind.
And previously I was feeling exactly the same. Like subconsciously I was thinking like it's like I'm different breed. Like I'm not at this level. I'm not I don't have the genes, the genetics, I don't have the upbringing, I don't have the background, I don't have anything to be able to do what these professional guys are doing. Because even if I felt it consciously but also subconsciously, because like let's say 10 years ago or even like just 7 years ago, I couldn't even imagine doing what I'm doing right now, because I remember we did some boxing sparring already like 8 years ago or something like this. And at the time, because it's very like fluid and multidimensional movement with your legs and footwork, like I already felt like a little bit of knee pain and stuff like this, because at the time I wasn't as strong and balanced everywhere. So it felt like all this higher level athletics and sports, it felt like it's not for me.
Yeah, and this is I think one of the options, like you don't even consider yourself to be at all like anywhere like there in the same like I don't know game. And then but those people, actually me including, because I had this like a feeling like these athletes, like if I was like Mike Tyson or someone like that, inspired me, and I was like, okay, I gotta try this thing. But then these people, and me included, you go and you try and you do your training. But the problem is what you see when you look at these athletes, you only see the most obvious thing. You see their speed, you see their power, you see the peak performance that they're showcasing in those sports. And you make the kind of mistake thinking that if I want to get there, that's how I'm going to get there. So you see those skills, so you're gonna just practice the skills. You see the speed and the power, so you're gonna be practicing speed and power and full intensity all the time. And what happens to these people, and what happened to me also, and maybe you even also later, is that now you start to still face those plateaus, because all you're doing is going hard. Your body was never ready for it. You're just getting hurt, and you might be wondering like, oh, now you think that okay, this isn't for me anymore.
And I wasn't even able to do a lot of those things, and most people are not even able to do any of those extreme power training or like let's say like phase 3 athlete.
That's the point.
Training. Like they are not even able to do that because they don't have the preparatory training beforehand, or they don't have the foundation built beforehand, and they don't have any background before that. Because the reality is actually that if you want to reach the higher level, the highest level, or even a higher level, you have to have the background and the foundation.
Yeah.
In one way or another. Most these professional athletes, they start very young and they do very versatile training and movement and sports when they're like 5 years old, 10 years old, and 50 years old. And as a result, many of them build like this pretty good foundation as a result of this kind of background. Yep. But most people like me, I was just sitting in front of the computer for 10 years when I was young and like a child and a teenager. So I had like a negative background. So I had to do like lots of different things to build my foundation, to build this athletic background, in able to do even like the normal stuff.
Yeah, and this is precisely it, because like I said, like you said, people, they can't even, most of them do that. And that's what I meant, like they might try it because they think, okay, I gotta do this plyometrics, I gotta do this jumping and running and like super fast and all this like power push-ups and whatever. and you're doing that, and maybe you can't even do it, so you get discouraged. And if you can do that to an extent, like I was able to do some of that stuff quite quickly, but I still start to develop myself like different type of pains and aches in my body because I was definitely not prepared for it. And that is the issue here, is that intuitively you think like, okay, I'm not on the level of the athletes because they have this and this and this, and I need this and this and this. So you're thinking that you need to be adding constantly to your body these attributes now immediately. Whereas of course you're going to need those at some point. But the very first step that you're actually, what you have to be doing, like you said, is build the foundation. And a lot of the times building foundation actually means that you're not adding things, you're removing also things from your body. You got to remove different blocks from your body so you can even get to that level playing field where you can start to like gradually progress to like really, really high, let's say super like athletic level. Because even at the point where you have removed, and what I mean by blocks, you remove blocks is of course, weaknesses, different dysfunctions in your body, mobility issues, lack of flexibility, lack of mobility, different imbalances in the body. These need to be removed, and once you remove those, you're actually already reached a very, very good level, because most people, or almost all people, have a lot of dysfunctions in their body. But this, I think, is the big perspective change that people need to make, and what people don't usually understand is you need to first remove a ton of these type of weaknesses from your body before you can actually start to add this kind of like high intensity athletic training.
Yeah, what most people don't realize, that the healthy and balanced physique is already excellent. It's already very good. It's already very athletic, because that's how the nature intended. So it's like it's by design.
Yeah.
Because even if like 200 years ago, most men and most women, they were very strong, very athletic, like just by doing nothing except like regular life. And if you look back 10,000 years or even longer, like the cavemen and all these people, they were like just very athletic and strong by nature, like exactly by nature.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, and I sometimes think about, of course we can't, go back to their age, but I mean, they lived such a physical life. If they were not fit, they wouldn't survive. Like you literally had to hunt your food. But I don't know if we go back like 100 or 200 years or something, even then, people were just, I guess it's the daily movement of physical work, because I was thinking like, how did these guys actually, maintain their shape? Because they didn't know anything about training. There wasn't even a concept of training for most people. Of course,
yes.
Like we've actually talked about, even related to Iron King, there's been formal training in, among many people, like the soldiers and people like this way.
Yeah, for thousands of years.
Yeah, for thousands of years actually. So that is there, but I think for the average person, it was just the daily movement in the fields or whatever. You were a blacksmith or something,
or carpenter.
Yeah, and I think that's, even though it's kind of simple, but that you're even moving in your work, because
or even when you're like standing and you're not sitting, because because nowadays
I'm walking.
And you are just walking and standing most of the day.
Yeah,
you are not just sitting. Like nowadays, everyone is sitting in office 8 hours per day. So that's alone will be very good for the body.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you were even active kid, just like playing and doing like even occasional sport, that makes a big difference.
And just having fun. Trying different things, like going swimming when you feel like it.
Climbing the trees. I was doing that all the time, actually.
Yeah, and
myself.
going to different, because when I was young, I had to ride the bicycle everywhere because I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
And so that's alone will be very good.
Oh yeah, and I used to just ride my bicycle with my friends because it was fun actually. And I had the what is like the scooter that you're like kicking with your leg, and there people were skateboarding. Like it was super active. Like I guess youngsters nowadays also do that, but definitely it's gone down. With all these computers and the games. And you were like you said, like you had the big thing was the games. You just didn't move because you found all the entertainment was
and just, community and everything was online. So
but this happened to me also a little bit later. Like I wasn't like you were, but at some point like I started to abandon a lot of like moving, and I was just playing my PlayStation. It just get sucked into it. But yeah, the point, what we're talking about, like removing these things. And the big part, I think, what is for us is a certain kind of I mean, this is kind of white belt mentality. That's the word, right? Like what people use, and what they mean by that is like you're always this kind of beginner. And I think when you face these issues, and especially if you are like strong in the sense that you can lift a lot of weights and maybe you can maybe jump well and something, but you still have these pains and problems. But because you are strong in a certain sense that you get this validation, and you might have a bit of a ego, and it's very difficult to accept how weak you can be. And this, I think, was a huge part. It's a sort of a humility, but it came very naturally, I think, for myself once you start to experience all these problems in the body. But it means that you're actually able to see yourself where you really are. Like you're able to see your own level, because if you can't see yourself and if you cannot accept these weaknesses in your body, you will never be able to find the solution to them in the first place.
Yeah, what happened to us and me and Eero is that I was training already 5 years and I got really strong in so many different lifts, like deadlifts, pull-ups, even squats, and so many different exercises. Even like I was doing even like ring push-ups with extra 35 kilos, which is like 80 pounds or 75 pounds.
Yeah, almost one-arm chin-ups.
Yeah, almost one-arm chin-ups and all these exercises. But I was still not truly athletic because I had too many imbalances. I was like a kind of, it looked like it was very versatile training, but it was not. It was very one limited. It was like one-dimensional. It was always like up and down, and like it was not actually what real athleticism is. It was not three-dimensional. It was not really this multifaceted and like just very versatile movement at all.
It's like linear stationary skills.
Yes, yeah, and linear strength. So I had this, but if I were to try anything else, my body was feeling pain very easily, and my athleticism and functionality was also limited. So, and once me and Eero, we really got into this more like a precision training kind of training and athlete 20X kind of training and mind muscle control, we discovered that like half of our bodies, at least for me, half of my body was kind of missing. Like I had imbalances and weaknesses everywhere, and I didn't even know this existed. I was just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like half of the body, even maybe even more. Like it's hard to say, because if I now think about it, like how much I have trained since that time and different articulations, different parts of my body, like, it's like 100% is different. 100% of my body, like I trained every single area, like from the beginning. Every joint I visited, like revisited in and all the possible articulations and movements in some ways. And this is part of what it is. Like you cannot anymore expect your joints to function well if you have these issues. You need to really know the methodologies, and you need to have this kind of like quality supervision inside your head. Of course, this comes with experience, and even what we teach, like we teach quality principles. That is precisely the athlete 20X. You learn to recognize what is quality movement. If you don't even know what that is, you have no way of telling how you're actually moving your body. But once you get certain standards and something that you can reflect on or compare in a way on, then you start to understand, okay, this joint, maybe it wasn't moving so well after all. And once you actually learn to move it properly, like this is what also happens to many people, they do some kind of glute race, which they may have even done before. But once you apply the stuff that we teach about the quality, then suddenly, the principles and this entire methodology of the control, then suddenly the exercise starts to burn so much that you just can't even believe it. Like you're like, what is this? And that's actually what happened to me as well. Like once I gained this, the real skill is training. It's a skill of training. Like we talk about the training is a craft.
And the skill of developing the body.
Yes, this is precisely it. And when you gain that, then an entire I would say just like a fourth or fifth dimension of training opens up, because suddenly like you can approach any area of your body and you can just get like fantastic stimulus with any kind of exercises. And it's kind of like, this comes to the art of, I said that, remove stuff, but it is also art of reducing in training in general, because for example, tools, weights and such. First, you need to also realize about the weights. Like in Athlete 20XX, they're just tools. They are not some kind of end goal. They're literally like they are there. Like people have this kind of almost like emotional attachment to weights, I would say. Like if you have a certain amount of weight, then you feel good, which I don't like. It has no like connection with me to this kind of success if I'm using more or less weight. It has nothing to do with that.
And nothing to do with progress either.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with progress even. We've just been learned. It's like this man-made like this fitness culture concept that has been like brought to us. You should have this amount of weight, and now you can feel good about yourself. 225 bench.
And now it's effective when it's like a certain amount of weight. And
yeah,
now,
that makes it
and
effective.
Now it's like it displays your athleticism and strength when it's like a certain amount of weight.
Yeah. And for this actually maybe I even have a good story because I was visiting my parents last time I was in Finland. And yeah, my mother, because she nowadays she trains a lot. She's had many trainers and she has her own programs. She was also helping my father because my dad is not like he hasn't really been very in that way like active. He sometimes goes to the gym, but very occasionally. And my mother just was giving him some advice. He was like, my dad was doing some kettlebell press or press with a kettlebell. But he was also, I was just went downstairs and I saw him training. But he also said like, he has some like shoulder pain from this training, and he wasn't really sure like what was causing it. And I was just observing him training. He was doing the press, right? And I was just checking his shoulder is like this way, like he's doing the press, like and every time the shoulder just kind of snaps. I go like it's clear as a day, like there's something's lacking here. So I tell him, it's better, that you actually take away the kettlebell completely. And I told him like just take that away and just like because I told him that your shoulder is not under control. It's just like fluctuating, like boom, it just gets out of place almost. So he's like, oh really? Like he couldn't even notice that himself, but he was still experiencing the problems, the pain in the shoulder. So later, when we went to the sauna. And we're talking about this thing and my father is also, because he's a doctor, so he has like some knowledge about this stuff. But he used to be a sprinter when he was younger, like a competitive sprinter actually. So I was explaining to my dad that in the beginning you don't need this weight, you don't need to use kettlebell. You can just move your shoulder like up and down, even like this way. You can just do like ton of repetitions. You will get it. You'll get the muscle functioning. You'll get the feeling there. You don't need any weights. You can just reduce it, because it's hard for people to get rid of this concept that it's only the weights that are actually useful. But my dad, because of his background as a sprinter, he could kind of like reflect back on those times, and he told me the story that when they were training, of course they had, the actual like speed training and they were like sprinting real hard. But what they were also doing and what they had in their routines was this kind of controlled coordination drill, which I can't really show now with my legs. I'd like to show it, but like you're just doing this sprinting leg motion, but you're doing it with control and you're doing it slowly with your legs, like over and over again, just like this way. It doesn't resemble sprinting like really at all, except for maybe like the range of motion, but it's not like that, fast twitch muscle fiber action. It's nothing like that. But my dad said that, he really believed that type of drill where you're just drilling that coordination, it's kind of like leaves some kind of, muscle memory imprint. And he thought that really made a big difference in the training. And if you think about it, that, in general, that all athletes, what they're doing, everyone doing the same thing. They're sprinting hard. You're training the sprinting because you need to get better at that, and you're doing your explosiveness drills to condition your nervous system. So if everyone is doing that same thing, how do you gain an edge in your training? Like you gotta have something different there, and then it might be this kind of more fine-tuned control drills. But the point here is that my dad, through his experience from that athletic training back when he was like a teenager or something like this way, he understood, it makes sense. So I can actually do just this coordination, nervous system control drill with my arm, these shoulder raises and shoulder presses, and I don't actually need to use any weights. Because, why? what people don't understand is that what they think is good, the amount of weight and the hard drills, is actually damaging if you're not ready for it. It's not that it's not even that it doesn't help you, but it actually makes you worse. This kind of like training.
Yeah, the old paradigm was exactly this, like just using too much weight and thinking you are using the correct and good form, but in reality you were not, because the whole idea of the good form, it's relative and subjective, because what is good form for us will be very different for some like beginner or like some, let's say, lower level trainer, because it's like you have to develop your eye and your capability to see what is actually good form. So even that is like a very big thing. But for me, like I said, for 5 years I trained with the old paradigm and with the conventional methods, and my body, half of my body was missing, and I had developed really bad elbow pain, rib cage pain, shoulder pain, also some lower back problems, and everything of this sort. But what truly changed the game for me was really what Eero just spoke about, just using the correct methodology, the correct form, and the right training to develop the foundation and the correct like physical background. Because we started doing the athlete 20x method kind of training and developing the method in Croatia in 2016. And at the time I was training basically my core, hips and legs were like my dominant focus for 1 year. So I was grinding like almost every day and many times per week. Just my core and hips and legs. And after this 1 year, like I said before, subconsciously, I didn't feel like I was even capable of being like a good athlete or professional athlete. But after this 1 year of really grinding my core and hips and legs, like I started to feel like I'm not really so much worse than these other guys. I started to, like, my potential just started to increase and increase. My confidence and self-esteem just increased like every week. And I started to feel like, wow, I can actually do this. And at this time we started to think about maybe we start training MMA and start even competing in the future, because the potential suddenly increased so dramatically and so rapidly that suddenly that like the world became like open for us.
Oh yeah, I remember this time like very well, because you were often like even telling me about what you were kind of realizing at the gym and how you were just like perceiving even movement completely differently.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, now I remember more, because I remember I was in traffic lights just standing and I was like, my hips and legs like work differently, like I'm walking differently. And actually lots of people who have done like Athlete 20XX, even our like a Facebook community, they have said that they feel like they walk differently now, because they finally, after 10 years or 20 years of negligence, their hips and legs and core finally stabilizes and works and articulates as it's supposed to.
Oh yeah, and it's so hard to like realize that you have these smaller muscles there, and like all over. Like people can't really, I think, imagine how how to say, it's not necessarily complex, but how multifaceted, multidimensional the body is. And you know, when you're just doing this linear training, and you know, just living your life normally, you're not really addressing. You're never like actually encountering these things, and you don't actually, by accident, you can't even do that. Like we talk about this, you know, if you don't even know how to do the training, you don't know how to control your body. You can even be doing some type of exercise, you're still not getting proper results. But this year that you talk about this Croatia, it was very much similar to me as well. This was like a real, as a year of grinding, like you said. It was just because I was also like refining that mind muscle connection for the like almost for the first time, like really like getting to it. Like every single session was just that. But like putting that 1 year, even just 1 year completely to that, like huge amount of effort to that, like all the focus, it made that difference.
So yeah, it was basically phase 1 and phase 2, like strength and mobility phase 1 and stability and balance phase 2 of training, just grinding it like for 1 year straight.
Oh,
And
yeah.
actually, and in Australia, we actually started to really train the phase 2.
Yeah, the stability
Stability
part.
aspect. But
Of course,
yeah,
there was already stability training even in Croatia, but
yeah, we
just
did
got
lots
more
of
serious.
that, but it's continued for the second year in.
Yeah.
So that's what people don't realize, that if you want to make like long-lasting results, depending on where you are, you really have to grind it for like certain period of time. Like now, I don't need to do that. Like I'm in the phase 3, like the speed and power part of my training journey. Like, of course, I need to some maintenance work and some stuff, but after all this like 1 to 2 years of really grinding the phase 1 and phase 2, like strength, mobility, stability, and balance, now it's kind of like 90% it's done. So now it's just phase 3, like speed and explosiveness, and more like skill specific strength for
Very
MMA.
dynamic, like elastic stuff.
Yeah, animal movements,
pliable.
they never grow old.
Yeah, that's so true, because like 1 year, 2 year, I think I did almost maybe 3 years or something, just focusing on those phase 1 and phase 2. Of course, there was some explosive training there, but still, I think the majority of was like just, doing that more like slow tempo, controlled articulations before really feeling, that I was, just needed to wait, like because you feel internally how your body is all the time. And, for some people, it takes maybe only 1 year. For me, it took maybe 2 to 3 years or something like this way. But I think the one of the important part here is that while I was going through those, I didn't even think about this specific end goal. It wasn't to me like, I'm going to be this athlete, I'm going to be someone, like for me, that wasn't even it.
It was not for me either, but it was like something just came like.
Yeah, but it was like it's more like a daily thing. Just like I just want to every day, do something good for my body. It was like I just want to feel, get that feeling, like just that, like you said, your joints suddenly work better. Your entire walking can change. After like a few months of training, you'll be walking different. Because you can feel your hip joints are actually moving nicely and flowing while you're walking. Like that can also like change, like this kind of. So of course, and I'm not saying it's wrong to focus on some kind of goal, but I think it's important that once you get into the body, that you don't, try to like force yourself to some destination, because you need to take it day by day. It's like a daily progress, doing something good every single day to improve your body.
And for me, it was very addictive because when you do this type of training, you are actually getting better as a human being, and you feel like you're like a. It almost feels like you are like a better genetic human being. But it feels like,
because suddenly like now you have the genetics.
Exactly. Now you have the genetics, and it feels like you are more gifted and talented. But just 2 years ago, you were the opposite. So that's the feeling. That's why it's very addictive, because you just get better and better and better, and suddenly every aspect of your life, it's just you feel like you're more, just more talented, more gifted, more genetically superior kind of being. So your self-esteem just increases all the time, because you feel like you're not limited, you are not in pain. You have really no limitations, and your potential just, everything just opens up, and you can just go in any direction you like, and nothing can stop you.
The pain part is huge. I mean, because that was one of the, like, I don't know, that is the most uncomfortable feeling usually that I ever had, is having the like chronic nagging pain somewhere in the body. Like that was actually a huge motivation for me. Like I don't want to, I don't think your body should have to tolerate that kind of thing, and there has to be like some kind of way. And I think like with these methods, like you said, when you're doing this training, you constantly notice progress actually, because you become more sensitive to it, and you just notice even this like just the tiniest of changes in your body, and it, like you said, that makes you also addictive. But the other factor that really makes you just feel so good is that this training, every time you go to the gym, you're not like harming the body anymore. Like, because maybe in the past you went to the gym, and every single time you went to the gym, you come out worse than before in some ways. Like in total, maybe you get stronger in some lift, but at the same time, other places get tighter. or your shoulder feels worse and worse. Like I had, lower back pain. I had my hips were a complete mess. My shoulder was pinching at some point, like impingement. I couldn't even do pull-up. It was hard time doing even push-up. Like all these issues that were there, it was just start to like almost like melt away in some sense. Just by changing the training.
And these pains and injuries and like chronic pain especially, it really lowers your self-esteem and confidence. It really makes you feel like you are not like like a good being, like human being.
Yeah, I don't feel myself definitely.
Like confidence is way lower. Like I remember when I had some wrestling injury in my shoulder, and I had lots of pain over there, and I couldn't do anything with my shoulder for 1 month. I felt very vulnerable, and just my just all around confidence was just very low.
For sure, yeah. And I was thinking, because you mentioned, like we had this like athlete to next phase 1 kind of in the Croatia, we do mobility training, and then we start to do more of the stability training. I think these were kind of the mobility stability. These were the big steps, that you need to master. And the first one, what is like mobility? It means that you are moving. Mobility is like movement. You need to learn how to move the joints, like we've already been talking about. How do you create pure movement? How do you create actual movement through the actual contraction of your muscles, not by swinging, not by some compensation, not by some other weird body mechanic, not by some jerking movement or something like this way, but how do you create pure, like real movement from your joints? How to articulate it in the softest way possible, as it's supposed to be moving. Like this is one of the biggest steps that is just missing for people, because people don't understand that the fact that you can do a shoulder raise, it doesn't mean that you can move your shoulder properly at all. There's just so many different possibilities, and most people, when they do that exercise, shoulder raise, they don't use their shoulder is maybe 30% of their movement, and the rest of the body does the rest of
traps
the movement.
And lower back
traps is like I saw this bodybuilder one time, and it was like his shoulders were kind of like underdeveloped, huge traps. And I saw him doing the lateral raises. And it's like this way, every single like lateral raise, like with just big cable weights, and it's just like training the trapezius, and that's not like an exception. That's almost a rule, what you see at the gym.
And the thing about pain and injuries is that when you have the knowledge and when you have the methods, it's not actually even difficult to fix the pain. But when you are in the old paradigm, like nothing you do works, because you try to do these rotator cuff exercises and it's not working, and then you try all this different stuff with like resistance bands, and then you go to the doctor and the physical therapist, and he is giving you some exercises and it's not working either, and you become kind of hopeless. You look for like many different solutions. You try some pills, and then you ask for steroid injection in the joint, and it's not working long term either. So you think like now the surgery is the only way, and then you really start to think like, it's very hard and very impossible to fix this pain. Like it's cannot be done. I've tried so many different things, blah blah blah. But what people don't realize that it's just I would say bluntly, you just suck. Like you just don't know what you're actually doing. And the people you are going to ask for help, they don't know so well what they're doing either, necessarily. Because it's actually very hard to find really like professional guys who really understand how to fix injuries, how to fix pain, and how to get rid of like all these restrictions and limitations. But if you actually find the knowledge and find the right person, the fix can happen like this. It can happen very easily.
Super, yeah.
Yeah, like even like at this moment I don't have any pain, no joint injuries anywhere, and I do the most versatile, the most well-rounded sport in the world, like mixed martial arts, like wrestling, grappling, and striking, with like lots of movement in so many different positions.
Yeah.
And it's only the impacts I need to get used to, like all this pain and agony.
Very different type of like injuries.
But when it comes to like tendons and joints and muscles, it's like rock solid.
Yeah, and I don't know, like this, this like I say, sometimes say like if you manage to find the one, even just one right thing, like just a couple of steps in the right directions, it's crazy how fast the changes are. Because even myself, even in like some past years, I already knew how to like train well, but it wasn't like I had like some perfect system. I was still learning constantly things, and I still had like something. Okay, I want to improve this. I want to improve that, and it was just it might have taken like many months. I was like, I don't find the solution here. What is this thing? And then I figure out like this one maybe change of perspective, change of method, new maybe better exercise or something, better control, and then suddenly it's like, well, it's almost like within days the issue whatever was there, maybe was there for months,
years.
It's gone. Or years, it's gone. Like it's crazy how fast. Because the body wants to heal, actually. The body wants to get rid of the stuff. But it's only a matter of really, like you said, it can be a simple thing. It can be something. The answers are like literally there, like right in front of your kind of nose. But it's just, we don't see them, like you said.
Yeah, and the thing is, because it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And because the normal solution is to try so many different things. I try this and try this and I try this and I try this. But people don't realize that you just don't know how to do anything well, and that's why you don't get good solutions.
It's not the one exercise.
Yeah,
it's how you do everything.
Yeah, right? It's exactly the methodology and the principles you're applying. They are the weakling, and that's why, because the old paradigm is like the old paradigm of fitness is kind of like the conventional method is like doing everything like a certain way. It's like it's kind of like ideological, and it has its own principles. It's very egoistic. It's like all about the numbers, all about the weight, all about this. So it's the whole approach that is the problem. So you can try 20 different things or 30 different things, and it's still not going to work. But once you accept or you find the new paradigm, which has different principles and different approach and different orientation towards everything you do, then suddenly all these things that didn't work before start working.
Yeah, because this is actually exactly how it happened even in the beginning when I was doing, because I didn't have the methodology. I was literally trying like 30 different things, like, and it was good because I was gaining experience. I was learning things for sure. But still, half of those things, could have maybe produced pretty good results, but I just really didn't properly know how to utilize them. Like I just didn't have, it just didn't have the understanding. Like I couldn't like reflect on what was actually working and what was not properly because I didn't really know how to do anything properly. But yeah, on the hindsight, I still think like it's very good, to even, because I wanted to like make a change. At least I wanted to find an answer. Like really like dig in, like I try to see like where am I doing wrong and something. So that was part of a process that eventually led me to the correct methodology. But for many people it is try like you said, and then if you don't find the solution, then it's like injections, pills, or surgery or something like this, or just like give up, just stop training or do something like this. But it was never an option for me to like stop training, Just gotta find the way. You need to find a way. I always believe that it is there, no matter how long it would take. In a way.
Yeah, I would say the conventional and the old paradigm way of thinking is very external. It's like very quantitative. Everything is about what you can measure, and everything is what you do. But like the higher level training is internal. It's the qualitative. It's all these things you cannot even measure. Like you cannot put a number on these things. So, and when you, of course, there's some benefits to external way of training as well. But once you really learn how to do everything from the internal aspect for yourself and for your body with the respect to their body and like this, then suddenly new doors open and it's just a new way of life.
Yeah, and maybe it's the internal approach, maybe it's difficult to digest in the beginning because you're just so used to like, you're literally like, but like it's the old paradigm, I think it literally like blinds people. because that is exactly what keeps you from seeing these opportunities. Because like for me right now, there's like a million, like endless amount of opportunities for me to train different areas of my body, train or stretch or mobilize or, you know, do any kind of like even therapeutic movement. There's just like huge catalog of things that, you know, I can be doing. But and for the thing is like this catalog is open for everyone. Like right now, you whatever, you know, who are watching, like you have all these options. They're all open there. But it's just a matter of, you know, opening the eyes and getting rid of this measuring thing, because the human body, you know, like we already talk about the science stuff. You know, you can use the scientific methods and all kind of measuring and numbers. You can use that kind of support something or get new ideas. But the body does not work within these things, and you cannot count on the counting in a way. It's an internal art, like you said. It's really a process of becoming much better at sensing things that happen in the body. Like literally, like you need to be able to perceive things internally. You need to be able to read yourself. Like there should be a feedback loop. Whatever you're doing with your body, you're getting feedback. So you need to start listening to and paying attention to that feedback and then adjust according to that. Actually, it's in a way it's quite simple. But this is even mind-muscle connection, what many old-timers were preaching about. This is what it's based on. We have this internal feedback loop in our body, and every single person has it.
Yeah, it is intuition, it's self-knowledge, it's self-understanding, and it's relying more on the feedback of your body instead of relying on the external studies and external things, because we have spoken about this before in like one of our science podcasts, that it's never accurate. Like it can be sometimes accurate, but like if you base your life and training and nutrition on external studies and external advice, it will never be as accurate as your impulses and as your like the feedback of your own body, because your body knows exactly what it feels, what it wants, and what it has to do.
Yeah, and it's about like it is trust. Like you need to just learn to trust your own body.
Yeah, it's kind of self-trust and self-love as well.
It is, yeah. And this, of course, like you might be thinking, how does all this happen? But you know, like I already said here, we'll be talking about these different phases. For example, you know, first you focus on mobility, then you focus on stability. There are like very clear steps that you can do, and it's not like something that, you know, just comes within one night. Maybe for you, but like I said, I did like for many years. I actually did this training and I just studied consistently. So I developed that skill, but it's not. It really, literally, it's like any other skill that is out there. Like you don't expect to be good at any new stuff that you're trying to do. And same with the skill of training itself, the skill of developing the body. That is something that you do now, and you do it for 1 year, and suddenly you're on a whole nother level, because you just, every workout you had the focus, every workout you had the correct aim. So that's why it's so important that you really make clear in your head. You don't focus on the number and the weight, because the more you focus on the number, the weight, and the external stuff, as you already also talk about, and this old paradigm stuff, the more you will be drawn towards that, and the more the further away the other path will go. It's a matter of change of focus, literally. Now you're focusing on one thing, and that's why you're getting the results that you're getting right now.
And you have to give up also a lot of the old stuff. Like you have to give up the egoistic training and the eco lifting and all these numbers. Like for sometimes, if you want, you can go back to them later, but for some time you have to give up everything to get this new life.
And I did precisely this, actually.
And we both gave up everything.
Yep. And it's like, yeah, it only hurt the ego to an extent. There was like, well, I can't do now this show of stuff. I cannot like show to these people I can do this and that. That was the minus part of it. But yeah, in the end, you just end up gaining more and more. But like I said previously, like it's not an accident that why you have the results you have now, or why you have the problems and the issues or the pains you have now. it is a result of you going to that direction, but it's mostly unconsciously to an extent.
Yeah, because
you just don't understand.
It's due to the ignorance and lack of knowledge. And I would say the conventional, the old paradigm way of training is self-destructive.
Yes,
because this new paradigm, this internal way of training, what we do is it's about self-love and self-respect, self-trust. But the old paradigm is you're like applying external standards, which are trying to define you and trying to destroy you. And because it's exactly what's happening, because you are getting joint pain, you're getting destroyed shoulders and everything. And it's not a result of like some incident, because of course accidents and incidents can happen to anyone at any point. But if it's like chronic and it happens more and more, then it's like a result of the external way of training, which is ultimately self-destructive.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it. It is like an actual.
It's kind of comes from lack of self-love, because it's you are not feeling good about yourself. So you kind of subconsciously you try to hurt yourself, or you try to kind of get some outside validation in exchange for some self-destruction or so. Yes. It's very weird and it's very strange.
I mean, it is kind of a compensation.
Yeah, it's compensation. It comes from insecurity. It comes from fear. It comes from
fear, definitely.
Lack of self-esteem. It comes from all of this stuff.
I think a lot of people, these guys also who are very attached to the science thing and the numbers, and they would just like that you're not gonna try anything unless there's some kind of peer-reviewed study for it or something. This is only fear. It's not, you mask it like I'm clever. I read the papers, but you're just afraid, like, and for no good reason, because there is no one who can like tell you better how your body is actually working ultimately than you. Of course, it can, takes time. Sometimes if you have a good coach, he will see better what's going on into your body than you can know. But in the end, like you are the one.
The end point should be the self-understanding.
Yeah, it is like the mastery, self-mastery, because I feel like that is, what we also teach, and it is something that's possible for everyone to become this kind of master of their own self. This is just, it's an education, and like I said, you've chosen that certain path. Now you change the focus. Just change the focus, and suddenly, every single workout will take you then to a different direction, and that direction will be pretty good, I would say.